for your father. But you know what I've learned? Is that many people grow up in homes where the father does not behave like our Heavenly Father. And I am absolutely confident that some of you find it difficult to believe in your God as a good father because the father you knew growing up was anything but a good father. And when you think of the word father, you think of violence. You think of abuse. You think of anger. Maybe you think of absence because your father was never home. And you find it difficult. You find it very difficult to trust in a heavenly Father because your default response is to interpret Father through the Father that was in your home or should have been in your home. Let me encourage you, my friend. Let me encourage you not to interpret your heavenly Father through the misbehavior of your earthly father. Can you work on that? Don't interpret your heavenly Father through the inappropriate behavior of your earthly father. Your heavenly Father can be the Father that in your heart, He is the Father that in your heart you know you need. Here's what your heavenly Father will help you do. Your heavenly Father will help you forgive the failures of your earthly father. He will help you. It may take some time. For some people it seems to take a lifetime. But this is very important because your earthly father was the first voice of authority in your life. And if he was an inappropriate voice, if he called you names, or he touched you inappropriately, or he abused that relationship, then some of that hard wiring within you, some of that data that's been stored within you needs to be removed. You've been operating off of faulty data for a long time. And if you grew up hearing the first voice of authority in your life call you stupid or irresponsible or not care for you or be absent, you know what? I'm sorry. But not nearly as much as your heavenly Father is. He did not approve of it, and you need to know that. But your heavenly Father can work with you. He will work with you, and He will help you realize that your God in heaven, your permanent, eternal Father, will love you with a good love. And He will help you go in and heal that love, that wound in your heart that was left by your earthly father. And you need to let Him do this, because if you don't, that wound will fester into anger. It will fester into a reaction toward anyone who comes. You'll find yourself not trusting anybody, because if you can't trust your earthly father, who can you trust? You'll push people away. You'll find yourself resistant and isolated, oftentimes depressed, because oftentimes depression is that suppressed anger that's never dealt with. Why don't you do yourself a favor? Talk to your heavenly Father about that. Just say, Lord, I need help. I need help. Would you please bring healing so I can forgive him? And He will do it. He'll bring understanding. He'll bring insight. And I believe He will break a chain. He will break a chain that's been holding you back. And what a blessing that will be. Because you have a heavenly Father who is committed to walk you through these difficult challenges. Why? Because He's adopted you. Because He's adopted you. What's your role in this? Well, it's just like being adopted. Your role is pretty passive. You simply receive the adoption, right? You receive the adoption. In fact, the two verses we read both have the word receive in them. Romans 8 says you have received the spirit of adoption. And then Galatians 4 says receive the adoption as sons. If prospective parents go to an orphanage to adopt a child, they do not ask the director of the orphanage, we'd like to adopt a child who has a lot of money. Or we'd like to adopt a child, but only a good-looking child. Or we want a child that someday is going to be able to take care of us in our old age. The orphanage director won't put up with that, because the adoption depends upon the stability of the ones doing the adopting. And the orphan just receives the adoption, right? And that's what you do. You receive the adoption. You don't earn the adoption. You don't justify the adoption. You receive it. You believe that Jesus can take you home. In the years leading up to World War II, Missionaries discovered a tribe of people in Ethiopia called the Wallamo people, the Wallamo people. These were Satan-worshiping people. They wwere witch doctor-led people. But the missionaries had an opportunity